John cannot even explain history without my help. She laughed to my principal at the faculty party. I smiled politely while my colleagues watched in silence. 3 months later, when her phone rang during our dinner, she had no idea what the voice on speaker was about to reveal. I am Jonathan, 30M, a high school history teacher in a decent suburban district. I have been teaching for 8 years, have my master's in education, and generally get along well with my colleagues and students. I am not trying to sound arrogant, but I have always been considered knowledgeable in my field. I have won our district's Teacher of Excellence award twice. I have been dating Kennedy, 28F, for about a year and a half. She is a real estate agent at a high-end firm in our area. When we first met at a mutual friend's housewarming, she was incredibly charming and seemed genuinely interested in my work. She asked thoughtful questions about teaching history and even suggested books on the subject. I was immediately drawn to her confidence and intelligence. The first few months were amazing. We connected intellectually, had similar interests, and compatible lifestyles. She was supportive, affectionate, and made me feel like the luckiest guy in the world. Looking back, I can see where things started to change. But at the time, the shift was so subtle, I didn't notice it. It began with small corrections when we were around other people. Actually, John, the Treaty of Versailles was signed in 1919, not 1918, she would say with a little laugh when I was telling a story to friends. I knew the actual date. I had just misspoken. Or, sweetie, I think you are confusing the New Deal with the Square Deal. It is okay. All those deals can be confusing for someone who isn't a history buff. This would be said to me, a history teacher, in front of our friends. At first, I thought she was just trying to be helpful. Maybe I wasn't being clear. Maybe she thought she was supporting my credibility by ensuring the information I shared was accurate. I never considered that she was deliberately trying to make me look stupid, but the corrections increased in frequency and became more embarrassing. She would interrupt me mid-sentence to clarify what I was trying to say, as if I was incapable of expressing my own thoughts. She would tell stories about my adorable mistakes or how I tried so hard with tasks I supposedly messed up. To be fair, I am not perfect. I have forgotten important dates, occasionally. I once mixed up her parents' dinner, and I do get overly enthusiastic about history topics most people find boring. Kennedy often pointed to these flaws as evidence that I needed her help navigating social situations. Things escalated when she started attending school functions with me. Our district encourages community involvement, and Kennedy, being naturally charismatic and good at networking, quickly ingratiated herself with the administration. They appreciated having a local business person engaging with the school. The worst incident was at a faculty party 3 months ago. Our principal, Dr. Simmons, was discussing potential curriculum changes with a group of teachers and had specifically asked for my input since I had recently attended a conference on innovative history pedagogy. Kennedy wandered over just as I was making a point about balancing traditional and digital methods. John means well, but he doesn't really understand how modern education works. He is more of an old-school lecturer, aren't you? Sweetie, she turned to my principal. I have been trying to get him to update his methods for months. There was an awkward silence. My colleague Mark raised an eyebrow and said, Kennedy, John just presented on digital history tools at the state conference. But the damage was done. My principal changed the subject, and I noticed several colleagues giving me sympathetic looks throughout the evening. That night, I confronted Kennedy. Why did you undermine me like that? These people are my colleagues. You made me look incompetent. Her response floored me. I am just trying to help you improve. John, everyone can see these issues except you. Why are you attacking me when I am only supporting you? I felt crazy. Was I overreacting? Was she actually trying to help me? This pattern continued into interactions with my family. When we visited my parents, Kennedy would tell stories about how she was helping me become more organized or professional. She would make comments about my childish interests. I collect vintage history books and enjoy strategy games, and how she was trying to mature me. My sister Rebecca, who is also a teacher, pulled me aside during one visit. John, what is going on with you? You seem different. You barely speak up anymore, and when you do, you look at Kennedy first, like you are checking if it is okay to talk. The turning point came when my best friend Tyler visited from out of town. We have been friends since college, and he works as a documentary filmmaker. We were catching up over beers when he said something that hit me like a truck. "Dude, what happened to you? You used to be confident and funny. Now you seem like you are walking on eggshells. And what is with Kennedy correcting everything you say? It is like she needs to make you look stupid to make herself look smart." The next day, Tyler suggested something that seemed extreme at the time. "You should record her," he said. "Not all the time, but when you are in social situations. I bet there is a pattern you are not fully seeing." I was hesitant. Recording someone without their knowledge felt wrong. But Tyler pointed out that I needed objective evidence either to confirm my suspicions or to prove that I was imagining things. So I started recording our social interactions. Tyler set me up with a system that would automatically upload the files to secure cloud storage, so I wouldn't have to manage everything manually. I didn't tell Kennedy or anyone else. What I discovered shocked me. Over the next few weeks, I recorded multiple instances of Kennedy deliberately undermining me, correcting me when I was actually right, or telling outright lies about my behavior. Not in every interaction, she was strategic about when and how she did it, but the pattern was undeniable once I could listen back objectively. At a dinner party with friends, I counted 11 interruptions where she corrected me, often incorrectly, and 7 anecdotes that painted me as incompetent. One friend, Dave, actually spoke up saying, "Come on, Kennedy, let the man finish a sentence," but she laughed it off as a joke and continued. The most revealing part was hearing her tone change completely when talking to me versus others. With me, she used a patient, slightly condescending voice, the kind you might use with a child. With everyone else, her voice was animated, confident, and engaging. I shared some of the recordings with Tyler, who was furious on my behalf. "This is textbook emotional abuse, John. She is gaslighting you and systematically destroying your self-image. Now I am trying to figure out what to do next." Tyler thinks I should create a compilation of the worst instances and play it for Kennedy, forcing her to confront her behavior. But I am not sure that is the right approach. Would it change anything, or would she just twist it around and make me the villain for recording her? I have also considered sharing the recordings with close friends and family who have witnessed her behavior, to reclaim my reputation and show that I am not the incompetent idiot she has made me out to be. I feel like I am at a breaking point. This woman I thought I loved has been systematically tearing me down for over a year, and I have only just realized the extent of it. I don't even know if I want to salvage this relationship, but I do want to reclaim my self-respect and professional reputation. What should my next move be? Update 1. Sorry for the delay in updating. Things have been chaotic. Between finals week at school and the emotional fallout of everything happening with Kennedy, finding time to write has been challenging. Thank you all for the overwhelming support and advice. As planned, I met with my sister Rebecca the day after my post. I played her 3 of the recordings, one from a family dinner, one from a gathering with friends, and one from the faculty party. Her expression changed from confused to concerned to angry as she listened. "John, this isn't normal or healthy," she said. "This isn't helping. It is systematic undermining, and it is clearly deliberate." Rebecca explained that as a teacher, she had had training in recognizing emotional abuse patterns. What Kennedy's doing is creating a false narrative about you, that you are incompetent and need her guidance. And she is doing it so consistently that even you started to believe it. The most troubling revelation came when Rebecca told me what Kennedy had been saying to my family behind my back. Apparently, Kennedy had pulled my parents aside several times to express concerns about me. She told them I was struggling at work, that I was having trouble connecting with students, and that she was worried about my emotional stability. "She made it sound like you were having some kind of breakdown," Rebecca said. "She positioned herself as the supportive girlfriend who was helping you through a difficult time." I felt sick hearing this. Kennedy had been creating a fictional version of me and selling it to my own family. No wonder my parents had been treating me differently, asking careful questions about work, offering unsolicited advice, checking in more frequently. Rebecca was adamant that I needed to end the relationship. "You need to get away from her. John, this isn't going to get better. I knew she was right, but I still felt conflicted. Despite everything, a part of me still cared for Kennedy. There had been good times too. Was I really ready to throw all that away? That evening, Kennedy came over unannounced. She was upset because I had been distant the past few days. I tried to keep things casual, saying I was just tired from finals week, but she wasn't buying it. "Is this about what happened at the faculty party?" she asked. "I told you." I was just trying to help. You get so defensive when people offer constructive criticism. Something snapped in me. I took out my phone, opened the recording app, and hit play on the faculty party audio. Kennedy's voice filled the room. "John means well, but he doesn't really understand how modern education works. He is more of an old-school lecturer, aren't you?" "Sweetie." The color drained from her face. "You have been recording me." "What the hell, John? That is illegal." "Actually, we live in a one-party consent state," I said. "As long as one person in the conversation knows it is being recorded, it is perfectly legal." "I cannot believe you would do this," she said, tears forming. "This is a complete violation of trust. I was only trying to help you, and this is how you repay me." I played another clip, this one from a dinner with friends where she had told a humiliating and largely fabricated story about me getting lost on a hike and panicking like a little boy. "Was this helping me?" I asked. "How exactly does humiliating me in front of our friends help me?" Her strategy shifted instantly. The tears vanished, replaced by cold defensiveness. "You are taking everything out of context. Those were jokes. Everyone teases their partners. You are being too sensitive." When I played the third clip of her telling my mother I needed professional help, her mask completely slipped. "If you are going to be this pathetic and paranoid, maybe we should take a break," she snapped, grabbing her purse. "Call me when you are ready to apologize for this insane behavior." Then she was gone. No acknowledgement, just deflection and abandonment. The next day, her friends started messaging me. According to Kennedy, I was having a paranoid episode with crazy accusations. When Ashley called suggesting I get help, I calmly offered to share the recordings. Though skeptical, she agreed to meet. Over coffee, I played 3 clips, including one from a girls' night where Kennedy mocked me while I worked in another room, with Ashley laughing along. She didn't immediately take my side as I had hoped. Instead, she grew defensive. She never said you were incompetent, just quirky, that you needed help with social situations. Kennedy called that night. Furious I had played the recordings for Ashley. "I am just showing people the truth," I replied. "If you don't like what they are hearing, maybe think about what you are saying." I later learned from Morgan that Ashley had actually been troubled by what she heard and had shared the clips with others in their group. While some were shocked, Morgan still defended Kennedy. "She is stressed with work. And John, you can be oblivious sometimes. Remember forgetting her birthday dinner? She was just venting, like everyone does." Kennedy's friend group was clearly divided. Some unsettled but loyal, others making excuses, and a few beginning to recognize the pattern of behavior. Meanwhile, I was worried about potential blowback at work. If Kennedy was willing to paint me as unstable to her friends, what might she say to my colleagues or administration? I decided to be proactive and spoke with my department head, Dr. Allen, who has been my mentor since I started teaching. I explained the situation as calmly and objectively as I could, leaving out most personal details and focusing on Kennedy's pattern of undermining me professionally. I played him just one recording, from the faculty party. His response was measured. "I noticed something off that night," he said, "but I didn't want to interfere in your personal relationship." He advised me to document everything going forward but cautioned against sharing recordings widely at work. "This is a personal issue that is spilling into your professional life. The less drama at school, the better. But if Kennedy contacts administration with any claims about you, let me know immediately." It was solid advice. The reality was messier than I had imagined, with people's reactions colored by their existing relationships and biases. I changed the locks on my apartment. Kennedy had a key, backed up all recordings to secure storage, and documented every interaction with her or mentions of her contacting others about me. The hardest conversation was with my parents. I hadn't wanted to drag them into this mess, but given what Kennedy had been telling them, I needed to set the record straight. "She seems so concerned about you," my mom said. She told us you were struggling with pressure at work, that you were becoming withdrawn and irritable. She made that up, Mom. I have been fine at work. In fact, I was just selected to lead curriculum development for next year. But why would she do that? My dad asked. Genuinely confused. What does she get out of making you look bad? It was a good question. One I had been thinking about a lot. I think it is about control and insecurity, I said. Kennedy grew up with a mother who was extremely critical and competitive. Nothing was ever good enough. She has internalized that, and now needs to be the superior one in relationships. This wasn't just speculation. Kennedy had told me stories about her childhood, how her mother Linda would compare her unfavorably to cousins or friends, criticize her appearance, and dismiss her achievements as inadequate. In a way, I felt sorry for her. She was recreating the dynamic she grew up with, but with the roles reversed. I will update again soon as things continue to unfold. Thank you all again for your support and advice during this confusing time. Update 2. It has been about 3 weeks since my last update. I have been hesitant to post again because things got complicated in ways I hadn't anticipated. But I think it is important to share what happened for those who might face similar situations. First, my worst fears about Kennedy trying to damage my professional reputation came true. I received an email from our school's HR representative requesting a meeting to discuss a concerning communication they had received. My stomach dropped. Kennedy had made good on her implied threat. Dr. Allen joined me at the HR meeting where they explained they had received concerns about my mental health and allegations I was recording students. I clarified that I had only recorded personal conversations to document emotional abuse during my breakup with Kennedy. Never students. Dr. Allen vouched for my teaching, and while HR seemed satisfied, they still needed to check with some students and parents' standard procedure that left me feeling violated despite being relieved. This pushed me to consult a lawyer, who confirmed my recordings were legal, but suggested a cease and desist letter first. While waiting for that, Claire, Kennedy's friend, reached out unexpectedly. This isn't the first time she has done something like this. Over coffee, Claire revealed Kennedy had done the exact same thing to her ex, Alex, 2 years ago, systematically undermining him, then telling everyone he was emotionally abusive and unstable when he broke up with her. Claire had reconnected with Alex, whose experience matched mine disturbingly well. This wasn't about me. It was Kennedy's control playbook. Things escalated when students and parents received anonymous messages asking if they had noticed concerning behavior from me. The messages were carefully crafted to avoid direct accusations while planting suspicion. My lawyer was alarmed. Contacting minors to generate false accusations crosses a serious line. The restraining order hearing followed, with Kennedy's attorney portraying me as paranoid and obsessive, while denying she sent the student messages. The judge granted the order but acknowledged gray areas without definitive proof of who sent the messages. Kennedy immediately played victim on social media, referencing surviving an abusive relationship without naming me directly. Though some believed her, the direct attacks finally stopped. The school investigation concluded with no findings against me. My principal delivered the good news but added, "John, I would appreciate if you kept the personal drama away from school going forward. This has been disruptive for everyone." I understood. While he supported me, he had to consider the entire school community. For now, the legal protections are in place. Work is returning to normal, and I am seeing a therapist who specializes in recovery from emotional abuse. I am focused on healing and moving forward. Final update. It has been about 6 months since my last update, and I think it is time for a final post to bring closure to this chapter of my life. A lot has happened, and I wanted to share where things landed for those who might find themselves in similar situations. First, the restraining order has been effective at keeping Kennedy out of my immediate life. There have been no further direct attempts to contact me or to interfere with my work. The temporary order was made permanent after Kennedy failed to contest it at the follow-up hearing. That doesn't mean there haven't been ripple effects. Kennedy has maintained her narrative on social media and with mutual acquaintances, portraying herself as someone who escaped a controlling relationship. Some people continue to believe her version of events, despite the evidence to the contrary. Morgan, who remained firmly in Kennedy's camp, still gives me cold looks when we run into each other around town. I have heard she tells people I manipulated recordings to make Kennedy look bad. At this point, I have accepted that some people will never know or acknowledge the truth. Ashley, on the other hand, eventually came around completely after she had her own falling out with Kennedy. Apparently, Kennedy began treating her the same way she treated me once. Ashley started questioning her behavior. Ashley called me to apologize for not believing me sooner. I should have seen it, she said. The signs were all there. But it is like you don't notice the pattern until you are the target. Professionally, things have stabilized, though not without some lingering effects. While my principal and department head were supportive throughout the ordeal, I can tell some colleagues remain uncertain about what really happened. There is an unspoken wariness from a few teachers who likely heard rumors but never got the full story. The parent community has been surprisingly supportive. After the school sent out that communication about inappropriate messages, several parents reached out to express their confidence in me. One mother told me her son had received one of the messages and had immediately defended me, saying, "Mr. Peterson is the best teacher I have." That is just not true. That meant more to me than I can express. On a personal level, the healing process has been gradual but steady. I continued meeting with the therapist for several months, working through the emotional impact of Kennedy's abuse. She helped me recognize how the relationship had affected my self-perception and confidence, and gave me tools to rebuild a healthier sense of self. My relationship with my family has deepened through this experience. My dad, who initially struggled to understand emotional abuse, has made real efforts to educate himself. "I always thought abuse was just physical," he told me recently. "I never realized how someone could hurt you just with words and manipulation. I am sorry you went through that." Son, as for dating, I have been cautious. I had a few coffee meetups that didn't go anywhere, mainly because I was still too guarded. But about 2 months ago, I met someone through a history education conference who knows nothing about my past with Kennedy. Melissa is a museum educator who shares my passion for history. We have been taking things very slowly, but it has been refreshing to interact with someone who sees me clearly without the distorted lens Kennedy created. I have been upfront about coming out of a difficult relationship without going into all the details, and she has been respectful of my boundaries. I have had to work through some trust issues. Early on, I caught myself analyzing Melissa's comments for hidden criticisms, or keeping mental tallies of who paid for what. Hypervigilant for signs of the same patterns, but those moments have become less frequent as I have gotten to know her. Kennedy has apparently moved on as well. According to Claire, who still hears gossip through mutual friends, Kennedy is now engaged to the man she started dating shortly after our breakup. Part of me wants to warn him about what he is getting into, but I know that would violate the restraining order and likely backfire anyway. I have kept the recordings secured but haven't listened to them in months. They serve their purpose, validating my experience, providing legal evidence, and helping key people understand what was happening. But constantly revisiting them was keeping me stuck in that mindset. The most significant change has been in how I view relationships and my own boundaries. I am more attuned to early warning signs of manipulation, more willing to speak up when something feels off, and less likely to dismiss my own discomfort for the sake of keeping peace. This will be my final update. It is time to close this chapter and focus on writing a better one. Thank you to everyone who offered support and advice throughout this journey.